Thank you for coming. So happy to be here. I have so much to share that I feel like I want to set an intention for myself that I want this to be organic. I want it to be prompted by you and what you need and what you're interested in, and I also want it to be really clear and really organized. So it's like paradoxical. And also too, I feel like I want to sit down and we kind of switch with you guys. The thing about starting a practice, especially after being in school, is that it's messy. It's really, really messy. And so if we get messy, then that'll be great. That's what's going to happen. So I know some of you, so are you guys all still in school, or did anybody finish? Still in school.
No,
You're finished, and you're finished too.
I'm here to take notes for everyone who can't be here. Go find out what you have to say.
Yes, and I don't think this will be the only time that I do this, because I did say it's a lot of information. So we'll see what comes up today. So I also want to start by saying that for everyone who is in school, a lot of what I might say, we'll see what comes out, may be controversial to what you hear here. So for whatever that is, I need to really emphasize, while you're in school, you need to follow the rules here. Like, you need to not wear jeans to the clinic. Like, you need to, you need to jump through the hoops. You got to. You have to learn the rules, integrate them, so you can break them later. So this might be your light at the end of the tunnel for right now, but that'll be what it is, and we need to know if that's what it is. So, just so we have that clear. And I also want this to be a conversation, too. So I want to know what you guys are curious about, what's coming up for you. So let's have that out there as well. So feel free to ask questions as they come up. Starting a practice is the biggest spiritual assignment you will ever have. It is hard, and it is messy, and it is beautiful, and it gives you life. Like, it floods you with energy. There are times when it will break you down, and especially in the beginning, you are going to try on so many different outfits, and you're going to be like, this is who I am. And then you'll decide to change it. And that's good, because you need to iterate. You need to sign up for something, and it's like they say, fail and fail fast. Because then you know what doesn't work. And when you know what doesn't work and what you don't want, you're really clear about what you do want. So it's like, when I first started my practice, I focused on facial acupuncture. And it was called Integrating Beauty, and there was like a spiritual slant to it. But that was a little bit harder to translate. And so I was like, and this came from a kind of a mental idea of, oh, facial acupuncture is kind of hot, and you need to like sign up for a lot of sessions, and so it's financially a good idea. But it wasn't really coming from a heart space. And that's what you'll find out. It's like you need to be able to drop down. But at first, when you get out of school, you're all here, because that's how you've been trained for 4 years. You're like, and then you'll have to go like that. You'll have to go in that cerebral fashion for a little while, and then you'll come into what really works for you. So I have had definitely 3 business names. I think I've rebranded maybe like 7 different times. I think I've had like 14 different business cards. And every time I change it, I get closer and closer and closer to who I really am and how I share my gifts the best. Because it's not about what you know. It's not about what you learned in school. I hear that from so many people where they're like, oh my, I just finished my 4 years of acupuncture school and I feel like I'm not ready. I feel like I didn't learn enough. I feel like I don't know what to do. And so I want to go get my doctorate. And it's like, well, you won't get it there either. You have to go out there and you have to live it, and you have to find out how you work, and you have to find out what your gifts are. Because it's not like, for me, it was I remember a moment where I really like figured out what people really responded to for me was last year on Facebook, like in in January. They had one of those things where you can go back to all of your posts and see what had the most hits. And so I did this in January 2013, and I saw that like the people who liked the most and responded the most and commented the most was the stuff that I was talking about that was like woo-woo. You know, that was the spiritual stuff. That was the stuff that was out there. Like, and the more esoteric I was, the more likes I got. And I was like, oh, I like this stuff. So that was really encouraging for me. But that's my stuff. That's not anything that I learned in school, you know? And it's like, you'll figure it out. It'll come to you. So, but you have to, like I said, you have to try on these different things first. And I think that is what we really, really need to remember is that, especially for, I know everyone is not in acupuncture school, but ours is an energetic medicine. When I got out of school, I was reading business books. I was like, I did not learn enough business. I need to learn business. I need to learn marketing, and I need to do networking, and I need to find my niche, and I need to do positioning. And now looking back, when you finish school, you don't have the correct frequency to do all of those things well with like an energetic resonance. Because you have this energy of freaking out. And that is what it is. That is just what it is. You know, you're like, I just go to school, man. And that's fine. But it's like looking in, like, and you can read business books. I mean, you can do it. I did it. But if I was going to do it over, what I would read are books about manifestation. Books about how to change your thoughts so that you can attract into your life what you want. So that you can attract the right clients for you. You can attract the people that work the best for you. It's like, you know, when you have a piece of fabric, this is kind of how they explain orbits and gravitational force. You have a piece of fabric and you put a marble in the middle, and it creates a dip in the fabric. And the heavier the ball is, the greater the dip is. And that's the stronger that planet's orbit is. And so the more that you can get into what do I want, how do I want to feel, then your gravity becomes stronger. You start attracting those people to you, those circumstances to you. I used to take walks and say, I humbly request that the people who I'm most aligned to connect and help be guided to me today. And I would just repeat that over and over. And that's not word for word, but it's something like that. But, and in the beginning, you'll try to do so many different things. You know, it's like, like networking. You know, I did that. I went to BNI. I got up at, for people who don't know, it's Business Networking International. It's an organization that's international. There are probably 30 chapters in the Bay Area. There are anywhere from 15 to 30 people per chapter, one person per profession. You pay to be a part of it, and you do referrals. And they track the referrals, and they see how much money you get when a referral becomes a client. And so they say that each of these seats is worth $30,000 because they're including people like real estate agents and stuff like that. So you pay money to be a part of it in the beginning, and then monthly, and maybe it works for you. I have a friend in Nevada City. It's a small town. It totally works for her because it's a smaller community. But for me, what happened was I had to get up every morning on Wednesdays and haul myself down to the Holiday Inn on Van Ness at 7:30 and get up and stand in front of people and talk about my business and who I served and my elevator pitch for 30 seconds. And then once a month you had, or like, every month and a half you had to do a 10-minute presentation. And it was great because it's important to get every day in time, I got clear and clear and clear about what I'm doing and how I'm serving. But the overarching energetics of what was happening in this situation for me was I hated getting up early. Like, I love getting up early, but I like getting up early and doing my stuff in my house. You know, I don't want to get up and go somewhere. And I also had to dress business casual. And I don't really do very well in business casual. I feel contracted. And I totally did that for a while. There was a time where I was in my first real office where it wasn't community acupuncture, and I was showing up in black every day because I was like, this is my uniform, I've got on my work clothes, and that made me feel validated, and that's fine. But I learned that that really wasn't where I get a lot of energy, because for me, I get a lot of energy from self-expression. And the more energy I have, the better healer I can be, because I have more energy to give and to share and to move around. So I had to get up early and I had to dress business casual. And I was with a whole bunch of people who were like looking for business. And so all of these things, to me, energetically said there is something inherently not right and not okay with me and my practice, that I have to do things that I don't like, I have to dress in a way that I don't like, I have to go be around people who were lovely, they were the best part, like they were amazing. And I have to do this, like I have to do this presentation, which like makes my heart rate race, and I feel so nervous, and all because I'm not enough. And so I remember the day that I broke up with my BNI group. Some of them were really supportive, and some of them were like, well, we wish we told you, we wish you had told us earlier. And it was the best feeling ever to walk away from that and be like, I don't need to do that anymore. I am enough. I have enough. I am enough. And that's where it's like, so I'm curious. I have a question for you guys. So if I say inner advertising or energetic advertising, what does that conjure up in your mind?
Crystals.
Okay. Awesome. Word association. What's next? Let's go.
I mean, it's like you're marketing to yourself in a way. I mean, you're selling yourself to yourself, right? And it's like, energetic marketing. I mean, it's also, energetics are, what we don't see.
Mm-hmm.
Billboards are things that you see,
Mm-hmm.
and it's more like, putting out the good vibe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, totally. You're right.
For me, it's you bring about what you think about, so it's just that positive manifestation that you were talking about.
Yes.
And just aligning yourself with what you want.
Yes. Yeah.
And believing that you deserve it.
Yes, totally. Anybody else have anything you would go into?
Yeah, I was thinking of like have trust and faith. So like, do what you need to do for yourself and put in the work and trusting that it's going to come back around.
Yeah, all of these are part of it, definitely. And I'm here to tell you that works better than any other advertising. Like, don't ever do anything on Yelp. Don't ever do it. I didn't do it because I got the message not to do it. But people from Yelp call me all the time because they're like, oh, you have like 20 Yelp reviews, they're all 5 stars, and you're getting a lot of traffic, and you've had such and such clicks to your website, and da-da-da, we want to help you do that more. And I'm like, you guys, I got this. God need your help. But a lot of that comes from that inner advertising. It reminds me of this TED Talk that this woman, I don't know if you guys have heard of it, where it's about how body position changes your hormones.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, so totally. When I wanted to work at this spa, and I really wanted to bring acupuncture to this spa because I was like, I want people to know that acupuncture can be beautiful, that it's not something that you have to go to Chinatown to like have someone who doesn't speak English. Like it's like it can be this really beautiful organic experience. And so I was really, really adamant that this is what I wanted to do. And I got this interview, but ultimately, like, she was like, I want a massage therapist, I don't want an acupuncturist. I was like, I'll do massage, like, I did the shiatsu program, I'll do it. And so we finally arranged to have an interview. But it was on the phone. And then she didn't call me. And so I emailed her, and I was like, okay, are we having an interview? And she was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'll call you in a minute. So I totally stood there with my headphones on, waiting for her call, like this. Smiling. I was like, this is happening. She doesn't know it, but it's happening. And she was so full of no. She was so full of no. But then it was like, I was like, I can totally do this. I'm a fast learner, I'll get it, I'll be awesome. And she was like, wow, you're really confident. And I was like, I know. That is energetic advertising. That stuff will work better than anything else. There's a lot more. One other little tidbit, and then I want to open it up for questions. Okay, there's 2 things. I had a friend who, there was a group of us entrepreneurs, and she was a Reiki master, and she was doing like Reiki infused water. And we all went on a walk together, and she was like, we're talking about what we're doing and how we're like writing newsletters and writing blogs and doing whatever. And that's like one thing. It was like, when I first started, I was like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm going to go sit in a cafe and write on my laptop and like, and it's like, when you do that, you're also like sweeping in everything that it is to be an entrepreneur. And a lot of that is like really held up, especially here in the Bay Area where it's like glamorized. It's like, oh, you're an entrepreneur, you're a startup, all this stuff. But if you are not careful, you are also signing on to suffering and staying up late and running around like a frantic person and not taking lunch breaks. And so be very, very careful. It's like, you know how I talk about using your enin, using your intention when you're needling? That's the metaphor for everything else. So we're talking about what we're doing, and she's like, this girl who's doing Reiki, she's like, I've been really busy, but not in the way that you think. She's like, I've been doing things to keep my vibration high. And I thought about that. And then a couple of weeks later, I reached out to her and I asked her, so when you're doing this busyness that's keeping your vibration high, what percentage are you doing that is actual work, where you are like writing blogs and doing networking, whatever, and then what are you doing that is your energetic vibrational work, and what's the ratio? And she said it was 60% energetics and 40% actual work. And that's been one of the most powerful things that anybody's told me, where it's like you need to have, like, really, it's an energetic medicine. You need to do whatever it is that you can that makes you feel happy and expansive and joyful and free. Because that will liberate your energy so that you have more energy to work with. So that you will be a stronger acupuncturist if you are more free and have more energy than you will be if you finish here and go to do your doctorate and then do another thing and whatever, and then go to China for 9 months. It's like you will be a more powerful acupuncturist and a more powerful healer the more energy you have freed up inside your cellular structure. And then, relative to that 40%, she said it's that action, that doing the work and everything, always inspired action. You have to have that inspiration behind it. And so you'll think, oh, well, like, you know, when am I going to be like, oh, I need to go to a networking event? Like, oh, great, I'm going to go to a networking event. You have to ask for it, where you like look at your list of the busyness of what you need to do, which is networking with people, meeting people, writing blog posts, whatever. You need to have that kind of list, whether it's an actual list or in your mind, but feel into it every day, where you're like, ooh, what feels exciting today? What is it that's like gets me a little bit excited to do? And I think I've kind of gotten to this, but the most you have to do what you want to do, not what anybody else tells you, not what they tell you, not what like some marketing book tells you, not what your parents tell you. It's like not what everybody else who's doing what you're doing, like in your area, all the other acupuncturists in your area are charging for this rate. It's like, you got to do your own thing. When I first started, I had people come, and they would just come here and there, and I wasn't really getting anywhere. So I was like, I'm going to make a package. And I made a package of like 10 sessions. And I had a woman buy the package, and I was like, awesome, this is great. But it took her 6 months to use a package of 10. And every time she came in, it was like an emergency or something, and it felt like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And I was like, this does not feel good. I feel like I'm being ineffective, and it's not helpful for me, and it's not helpful for her. So I did a whole bunch of research. I was like, I want to incorporate coaching, I want to do all this stuff, and I want it to be different. And so I spent a lot of time noodling on the internet, looking, benchmarking other people's prices, and looking at coaches and what they were charging, and doing all this stuff until I felt absolutely crazy. And then I closed my laptop and climbed into my bed and was like, what do I want to do? If I could be, money was nothing, time was nothing, if I wanted to create a container in which I felt like I could be the best healer possible, what would that look like? And I got on a calendar, like one of those printed out of the whole year, and I was like, okay, I want to do it in a section of 3 months. I want to do it half coaching and half sessions in the clinic. In the beginning, I want them to come in for 5 sessions, then I want to move to 4, then I want to move to 3. It's going to be more acupuncture in the beginning, more coaching in the end. This is not what I do now because I've done it and then pivoted again. But this was the moment where I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to do it this way. And it had a big price tag on it. But because my energy, I had like created it, and because my energy was so imbued into it, I had like the first person I told about, she was like, yeah, I'm totally into it. Like, let's do it. We've been doing single sessions. And she was like, yeah, I totally want to do your 3-month program. It sounds awesome. And I remember being like, oh my God, where is that? I was so nervous. I was like, how do I charge this person this much? So, but that's the proof that it's like, I just went from being Mercury to being Venus. My gravity just got that much heavier, where I was like, so that's the energetics of it. Also, I have a whole bunch of books here for you guys to look at afterwards, and I also have an email that's already pre-populated with links to some inspirational videos and some of the books that are here, some of the books that are not. So when we're finished, I'm going to open up my laptop, and I want you guys just put in your email into the email so that I can just press it. Does anybody have any questions or something that they really were hoping to hear about today?
I'm actually curious. You talk a lot about blogging, and yeah, like, is that just like that's your passion, or do you feel like that's like, I mean, all you're doing is talking about? I mean, like, you know, I'm blogging and I blog a little bit more, and I know people, some people blog, and it's just like super intimidating. But I mean, I don't know if you would. I guess you don't.
It is my intention. It's actually like on my board right now. It's like I am committed to creating content.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that writing blogs is the thing for me. I think I'm going to do videos.
Yeah.
Because I get that anxious feeling about sitting down to write. You know that feeling that you have when you're studying and you're like, okay, I'm going to make note cards. And you're like, I've got my colored pencil, I got my highlighters, I've got this, I've got the note cards, I'm going to make note cards. It's going to be an art project. And then you make note cards. And then you get about halfway through and you're like, this is taking too long! And so you got your book and you start highlighting. And then you're like, I'm not really reading any of this, I'm going to go back to making note cards. And so that's still a real thing. I want you guys to know that. That's still a real thing that happens out here on the other side. Actually, last Monday, I was feeling that feeling, and I was feeling totally paralyzed. And I called my mom, and I was like, I have entrepreneur syndrome. And she's like, go outside on your balcony and pick at your plants. She was just like, do something, step away. Because that's the other thing that like you get into where you're like, I have to go, go, go. That's the thing that you're signing up for as an entrepreneur. It's like you're like, I have to keep going, and you feel guilty if you rest. And I mean, it's even like that now, right? So, but so it's something that you could do. Maybe some people would say it's something that you should do. But it's something that I want to do. Something that I actually did, I did actually write a lot of blogs in the beginning. I actually had it as a calendar event where it was like a 2-hour chunk, and I was writing blogs, and that was great. Maybe I should do that again. But I really think it's like I just need to sit down with my laptop in front of, like, I've got this good space to make videos and just do that stuff. But
What are you blogging about?
before, so that was when my practice was on facial acupuncture, and so I was blogging about Chinese face reading. I was blogging about. I was like really into the combination. Thank you. The combination of Western aesthetic work, where you're doing like estheticians, and then our Chinese medicine facial rejuvenation. So I was doing a lot of blogs with that, but yeah. Yes.
Have you ever worked with anyone else in an office or shared practice?
Yes and no. Right now, I work in an office where there are 6 of us. I share the room with another acupuncturist. We do half days. I would really recommend that if you can get a place where you can do half days instead of renting for whole days, that's highly recommended. When I had my practice in the marina, I've also moved a lot. I've had 3 different offices. I don't know if I would recommend that either, but that's what happened to me. When I had my office in the marina, I was renting there 3 days a week, and they were whole days. And so if I didn't have clients in the morning, I still felt like I needed to be there because I was renting the space, and I should like walk on Union Street and like meet people, and really just end up doing like making business cards or doing stuff on my laptop in the treatment room. And that was really stressful, trying to have space and not having it full and still feeling like that I needed to be there. So when I got the space that I'm at now, it's sharing this with this other acupuncturist, and she has some mornings and some afternoons, and so we have the flip schedule. And then there's a bunch of other practitioners, a chiropractor, an esthetician, massage therapist, rolfer, whatever, but we all have our own schedules. There's not a front desk person, so we all do our own stuff. I also, I worked at the spa. I still work there 1 day a week. And I really loved being there because it was being in community, being with other people who were healers. I liked that a lot. I don't feel like that happens a lot in my practice now. And it was such a good metaphor for me to see that in my practice I would be like, oh, the sheets are wrinkly. And then like when I was at the spa, like the sheets are wrinkly, and I'm like, oh, I don't care. Like, you know, or I would show up with like no makeup on and like my hair tied on top of my head, and like, as long as you do good work, you know, like that's the most important thing. Little side story from that. I remember I was in the line at Sports Basement. I'm gonna buy my clock, and there were all the people, all the different like cashiers, and I was just sitting there, and I saw this girl over here, and she has like really red hair, like manic panic magenta red hair, and I remember being drawn to her and be like, oh, I know she's not a cashier. And I kind of like checked in, like being the witness and the observer to yourself is one of the most powerful things you can do. And so I checked in, and I was like, why am I attracted to her? Like, why do I think she's going to be a better cashier than this guy in front of me? And it was because she had magenta red hair, that she felt comfortable enough, that she was a badass enough cashier, that she could have red hair, and it was fine. And So I just saw that in my internal processing, and I was like, okay. And so then I saw that that was something that wanted to be free in me. And I had a friend throw a party, and it was the theme was it was a space party. And it was, to me, space is the future. So I dressed up as my future self. And I decided that my future self had like rhinestones, like right here and here. And that was one of the things that she had. And then I decided that I really liked that. And that made me feel, when I put those rhinestones on, I was like, I felt my energy like. And so I decided that that was going to be incorporated into my everyday. And I started showing up at the clinic with the rhinestones on my face. And everyone loved it. I have clients today who tell me, oh, I really miss your rhinestones. I miss your sparkle. And I remember the day that I was seeing this guy who was a client, and he's like an investment banker or something. He wears a suit, and you know, he was drawn to me like he found me from my Yelp page, and it's like my work is not like what they do upstairs. You know, it's like my work is really, really different. I use aromatherapy, I use sound healing, I do energy healing. It's very, very different. So when people find me, I'm like, but he was all on board, but I remember the day that I had presented to him the package, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to ask him to sign up for the package today. I'm going to ask him for this amount of money, which is a big sum, and I caught myself hesitating to put my rhinestones on, and I was like, no, this is you. Anytime that you worry and think about what anybody else thinks, you have just turned your energy down a notch. You're like, And so I saw that about to happen, and I was like, and he totally signed up. He was like, yes, please, here we go. Here's my credit card right now. So you have to be you. You know, find out what it is. So that's a really long, there's lots of stories, and a very colorful answer.
I like it.
Yeah. Does anybody else have something that they would like to throw in? Mm-hmm.
I was just curious why you recommend half day. Is it just because of the time is easier to work with?
It is. Like I said, because you will feel pressure the days that you have full days. And another thing I just discovered, like maybe 4 weeks ago, lunch breaks. Go ahead, like if you have your schedule now and you're like, okay, I have this much amount of time. I was doing this to myself where I was like, okay, I'm starting at 2:30 and I'm ending at 8:30, and I see people for an hour. I don't see people for half hours. I have one room, and that's how I like it. Even if I had 2 rooms, I would rent the other one. But so I was seeing 5 people in that time, and then it would be like I would be so drained at the end of the day that I would have to like sit and like collect myself and gather enough energy in order to be able to like break down the space and pack up my stuff and even finish my notes and then go home. It's like, and my house is like 2 blocks from my office, so it's not like it was a trek. But it would take me, it would take me an hour to do all of that stuff because I was so drained. And so I took a lesson from the spa where you do 2 people, and then you have a half-hour break, and then you do 2 more people, and after every person you have 15 minutes. So, so definitely, some people do whole days. Like for me, it feels much easier to do half days than, and it's also important to really realize the difference between working in your business and working on your business. Because when you have half days, like for me, I start at 2:30, and so then I have the morning time to do my morning rituals and get calm and get centered, and then do 2 hours of working on my business, and then I go work in the business. So, and I've also separated my schedule out where I have a day for rest, where I don't do anything, I really just rest. The other day I sat in my bed and watched a movie. It was the most luxurious thing in the world. Allowing yourself to relax is really important. I have a day for adventure, and then I have a day for where I work the whole day. I work, it's creative generation, I work on my business that day. And so I think that those, for me, that was important. Like, that was what came out about what I needed to do. And a lot of this stuff comes from a lot of what Danielle Laporte talks about. This is her new book, The Desire Map. Her big thing is, how do you want to feel? This is a thing on manifestation. It's really important to get really clear, not on what you want to do, but how you think you'll feel after you do it. And then that is your compass. So at the beginning of the year, I wrote down my New Year's resolution, wrote down everything that I wanted to do, and then on the next page, right next to it, I wrote down, if I do all of these things, how do I think I'll feel if I do those things? And so then I had a whole page of feelings. And then I went to, what are the 3 top feelings that I want to feel the most, that like I feel the most excited about when I see those words. And they were free, luxurious, and engaged. I want to be engaged in my community. So, and I printed those out and saw them every day. And so that was my inner compass. And so then you look for, how is this going to show up in my life right now? So, anyone else? Something that they would like to?
Can you talk a little bit more about like some of the breakthroughs you had about like, I don't know, because I definitely feel like I'm in that same space of busyness where it's like nothing's good enough and nothing's ever complete. And they tell you in this medicine it'll never be good until you're old anyway, you know. So it's like all this. It's a lot of pressure, and it's like, but there is a point where you have to say, you know, that you got what you need, you know, for what you need right now, right? And so, what are some of the, I don't know, you're probably still developing the same sort of feelings anyway, cultivating, but yeah, I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys know Abraham Hicks, but they talk about this, where it's like, you'll never get it done, and you'll never get it right. So you might as well have fun doing it. You know, it's like, it will never be perfect. You know, you'll never be ready. Like, for me, I wasn't ready. I was just like, I know this stuff, I've been talking about it, I'm passionate about it. I don't have to have a big outline. But it's just like, when you get centered in yourself, and you're like, I'm going to stay grounded, and I'm going to have fun. Then it starts to flow. And that's the energetic liberation part of it, right? Where it's like, when you are worried about getting it right, or learning enough, doing it the right way, you're worried about what they think. And that's when you turn your volume down. So it's like, forget about that. You know, it's like I had to really, really let go of even the idea of being an acupuncturist. I had a person coming to me who was so sensitive that we used 1/2-inch red serums, and she would come in, and I would be like, awesome. I have the perfect protocol for you. Like, I know exactly what to do, got the right thing for you. And I wouldn't be able to get through the protocol because she's like, you know, and she's like, can we just do some guided breathing? I really like that. And, but it was like, but I'm an acupuncturist and you came here for acupuncture, damn it. It's like, she came here for healing. You know, like, people just want to feel better. They don't care how you make that happen. So it's like, I had to let go of that whole story. I don't even introduce myself as an acupuncturist anymore. People ask me what I do. I say I'm a multidimensional healer. And that's my thing that I say in lieu of an elevator pitch. You know, they say you have to have your elevator pitch, you have to have, well, I help courageous women find their true path and blah, blah, blah. It's like, to me, it's a game and everybody knows that game now. And it was cool in the beginning because no one knew it and you sounded like savvy because you were like, I help these people do these things. But now it's like people are onto it. And so now my solution to that was like, I just make up crazy job titles and people are like, what's that? Because that's the thing about the elevator pitch is you want people to ask you about it. So that was my solution to that. I mean, I'm a multidimensional healer. I've been an inner alchemist. It's like priestess, like whatever it is. Like that's, you know, I had to really step into that part to letting go of that title. Yeah. Do you feel like that answered your question?
It's good. I think these books are gonna be good too. I want to check out a few of these.
Yeah. They're really good. Anybody else have anything? Yeah.
Sort of curious on a practical or logistical side, how the numbers work out and how long it really took for you to kind of like be comfortable with where you were in terms of numbers.
Sure. Yeah. It really, like, I tried a lot of different things, and it really was. It really was like last year and that was when I made those packages, and that's when it was like that felt really, really good, and because I felt good about it, people started showing up, people started paying for it, but before I was still like working it out. You know, I was working more days at the spa. I used to. I've been really fortunate. The only job I've had that hasn't been acupuncture was that I did some catering shifts for a friend's catering company. But yeah, in the beginning it was, I did community acupuncture at a yoga place, and that was cool because it was just me. It wasn't someone else's stuff. But it wasn't until I got really, really clear on that I wanted to do things this way, and that was because I felt like I was being of the most service that way, that got really clear. And I made more money than I made in the whole of last year and the first 3 months of this year, because I got even more and more clear. So.
How many years have you been out of school?
I finished in December of 2011. So did state board right away, and then did the community acupuncture after there. Then I had friends who owned a wellness clinic in the Mission, so I went over there. And I didn't, they did an exchange where it's like percentage of service instead of rent. So that was really kind. Then that wasn't working out very well, and she wanted me to start paying rent, and I was like, this isn't the right place for me, the right demographic, the right area. So I went to the marina, had a space there, and then really got gifted the space that I have now. The other acupuncturist that worked at the spa was looking at that place, and it was more days than she wanted. She asked me if I would do half of the days. Then she ended up backing out totally, and it's 2 blocks from my house. I was like, yeah. I was working 3 days in the marina, and I was like, she wanted me to work 5 days, and I was like, I don't know if I have the clients to do that. But jump in the network here. You got a question?
Yeah, do you hire somebody to do your books and taxes and stuff?
I did all of my own taxes on TurboTax Business Edition up to this year. I will have to have someone help me this year. I send you an email and I'll send you the link, the links. Yeah.
I asked because before, in my past life, I had a small business, and taxes and books and invoicing and stuff is not something that I enjoy, so.
Right. It's easier because most of the stuff that we do is service. So there's not a ton of sales tax and all of that stuff. So I did manage to do it just by the stuff on TurboTax, the business edition. But this year, it was definitely, even when I got the letter from the Board of Equalization that was like, oh, you need to like pay us back the sales tax that you collected, I didn't know how to do it right, and so the way that I was doing it, I thought I was going to owe them $1,500. And so there are these like bookkeeping startups or like bookkeeping services that are, I feel like, are better where you get connected with someone. Because I tried to, I reached out on Facebook and tried to get someone to refer me a bookkeeper, but it was like everyone was full, which is great, they're all busy. But I can put it in someone I can put in the place that like this guy, so I only ended up paying like $80 instead of $1,500.
So you were happy to pay that guy a small fee, yeah.
Yeah. So I can send you his information and then another one too. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes?
I know you mentioned, maybe you already mentioned it before, but so 2011, and then how many years would you say before you actually started your private work?
Well, I mean, I did that community work, which I could say.
Was your private?
Yeah, because I went in there by myself and I set up the whole place.
All your own.
Yeah, I made the forms, I did everything. I took the money, I did it all. So, I mean, I could essentially say it's from then.
That was in 2012?
Yeah, that was like, I got my license in the end of March, and that was like, I went home for 2 weeks and then came back like, pros and cons. Diving right in. I definitely think it's good to take a break if you can. Anybody else?
Do you have anything in place that helps you stay innovative and kind of always reiterating what are you doing, what are you into?
If anything, I have too much of that.
Okay.
That's where I'm like, I have this crazy idea, and I feel like it's bottleneck, and I'm like, what do I do first? Wow, well, that's such a good question, thank you. Definitely being connected to I would say to this the world, for me it's this world of female entrepreneurs where it's Danielle Laporte, Marie Forleo, Gabrielle Bernstein, Chris Carr. It's kind of this, a lot of them are in New York, but some of them are here, but it's definitely Marie Forleo has a program called B School. It's a business school that helps you start your business and stuff. Being connected to that community, I think the best thing is get away from other acupuncturists, get away from other healers, think metaphorically. I used to go to all kinds of meetups, and I went to this one on agile marketing, and that was even a metaphor, because agile marketing,
That's a tech term, I think.
yeah, but that is a spin-off of agile software development. And so in agile software development, instead of having this plan for building an app and you do this and this and this and this, if this part doesn't work, you have to start over. So they build a bunch of stuff, and they test everything, and they see what fails, and this is the failing fast part. So they applied that to marketing. And like for me, I saw it too, and like what I was doing, where it's like, okay, I reevaluate after every session, like what didn't work about that, what didn't feel good, what felt really good. And so I had someone like look at me and be like, why are you here? And I'm like, but it's like you have to think metaphorically. So touch as many different things as you can and telescope it out and see the broader picture and see how that can apply to you. That's even like so Stephen Pressman wrote these 2 books. He might have written more. This is the second book. The first book is called The War of Art. Really good. And it's about writing, but it's also about business and life and everything. This is the second book called Turning Pro. And I highly recommend. They're both about this size, little, easy. But yeah, I don't know if you guys can see from there, but I have like all of these orange marks in here from reading this book. So, yeah. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. Yeah.